Hey everyone, my name is Toni Doman and I am curatorial specialist right here at the Birthplace of Country Music Museum. And right now we are inside of the I've Endured Women in Old Time Music special exhibit.
And I'm Renee Rogers. I'm the head curator here at the museum, and like Tony said, we're in the Women in Old Time special exhibit. And a lot of people, first thing they ask is, what is old time music? Old time music, like many other musics, has multiple definitions, but for our purposes, we are thinking of this as mountain folk music with strong ties to Appalachia. Its roots and branches are tied to country and bluegrass music, but it has been influenced by multiple artists, multiple types of music, a variety of different instruments, and different cultures. Women have always been a big part of old-time music, but too often they haven't been recognized to the same extent as men, which means that we know less about their stories. This exhibit is our chance to share their stories and those impacts more widely.
Women have faced many challenges in making a successful career in music, from having to give up their own careers or performance opportunities due to a variety of family responsibilities, to financial responsibilities, women not even being in control of their own funds or even being paid less than men, to the stage being viewed as an inappropriate space for women to begin with. A great story that illustrates challenges is the story of Etta Baker, who was a skilled musician in the Piedmont blues style. She was once invited to perform at the 1958 Newport Folk Festival, but her husband insisted that she stay home. It wasn't until after his death in 1967 that she began performing and playing in public once again. Stories like this illustrate the many challenges faced by women in the genre of old-time music.
Despite the many challenges that women faced making a career in music, and the fact that they're often not covered in the history of that music as much as men, there are many iconic and important women who were commercial success stories. For instance, we have someone like Ola Belle Reed. She was a traditional singer. She's known as a tradition bearer, and she played the songs and music that she learned from her family and that were passed down through her community. She had what was called a very distinctive high lonesome sound that we associate with Bill Monroe. She also, with her family, ran 2 country music parks that shared and supported the country musicians of her period. Then we have someone here like Hazel Dickens, another tradition bearer and a songwriter. She wrote many songs that sort of talked about the social issues that were impactful to her own community in West Virginia, things about black lung and union organizing with the coal mining community, but also women's rights and other labor organizing issues. She also worked with singer Alice Gerrard, and they together made a huge impact on bluegrass music, and as women really opened the doors for other female bluegrass musicians. And then finally, Elizabeth Cotten, who's one of my favorite stories. She wrote her best-known song, Freight Train, when she was only 12 years old, and then gave up her career in music for several years to take care of her husband and her children. After his death, and once her children were grown, she started working with the Seeger family and actually began sharing her music more widely at their instigation. They helped her to get on the folk music circuit. She was influential to numerous musicians and won a Grammy at the ripe old age of 90 years old.
We've all heard names like Loretta Lynn and Dolly Parton, and these are huge, successful, iconic women in the genre of country music. But there's also lesser-known stories of hidden heroines who have made a big impact in music. For example, Elsie McWilliams was the sister-in-law to famed country music star Jimmie Rodgers. Jimmie Rodgers recorded at the 1927 Bristol Sessions. Elsie McWilliams wrote over 20 songs for him, and she was known as one of the first women to make a successful career in songwriting. You also have women like Hattie Stoneman, who had 23 children. She was married to Ernest Pop Stoneman, who also recorded at the 1927 Bristol Sessions, and Hattie also recorded there. She's not as credited as her husband in that sense, and she also supported him in his long career in music. And you also have women like Jane Hicks Gentry, who had a vast repertoire of traditional songs, tales, and riddles. She shared over 70 ballads with ballad collectors Maud Carples and Cecil Sharp in the early 1900s.
Contemporary women in old-time music today are carrying on the traditions that have been established by the musicians who came before them, but also opening up the stories that are being told and pushing the boundaries of this genre. For instance, we have women like Martha Spencer, who is both a singer and an Appalachian dancer, who is carrying on those traditions both on her own and with other musicians, but also with the White Top Mountain Band, which is a band that was established by her parents and that she plays with today. We also have someone like Kathy Fink, who works with her partner Marcy Markser. They have been in the industry for over 40 years, sharing old-time country and bluegrass music, not only on the performance stage, but as educators, working with young people, younger musicians, doing workshops and other types of festivals, but really mentoring the women who are coming after them so that they can find their voice in this music. And then finally, we have someone like Rhiannon Giddens. She was one of the co-creators of the Carolina Chocolate Drops, a black string band. And with that band, they really shared that hidden history of black musicians in old-time and traditional music. She's also moved beyond that to really support and help other female artists, for instance, with her Songs of the Native Daughters project, with black banjo players, female black banjo players. Again, just being sure that that history of old-time music isn't just about the men that we've heard the stories about over and over again, but also include women and the black musicians who are so important to the wider history of this music.